And this all started in my usual corner at a downtown coffee shop, the one with the crooked outlet and the wobbly table I kept swearing I'd stop sitting at. He was already there when I walked in that day, a little hunched over a paperback thriller, stirring his drink long after the sugar could have dissolved. Dark hair, faint shadows under his eyes, the kind of tired that makes you want to ask if he's really sleeping at night. I wasn't looking for anything. I was killing a Saturday with spreadsheets and a pastry. But the place was full, and the only open seat was across from him. "Is this taken?" I asked. He looked up, blinking like I'd pulled him out of a tunnel. "Oh, no, please, sit." We did that awkward dance of laptop cords and cups. He smiled, small, a little crooked. "I'm Noah, by the way." "Marissa," I said. "Nice to meet you." It was cliché the way we started talking. He commented on my color-coded calendar. I made a joke about his dog-eared book. He laughed. I laughed. Time slid. He told me he'd moved here recently, that he liked crime novels because real life's weirder than fiction. I told him I did freelance marketing and pretended not to notice the way his gaze kept drifting to the door like he was expecting someone to burst in. I should have noticed that part more. We exchanged numbers at closing, our phones touching on the table for half a second. It felt like possibility. Our first date was easy. Dinner at a little Italian place where the lights were too dim to read the menu without your phone. He was funny, self-deprecating, charming in a slightly nervous way. I liked that he didn't seem rehearsed. I liked that he asked me questions and listened, really listened, like my stories were the first ones he'd heard all week. The second date was when the bomb dropped. We were sitting in my living room this time, takeout containers on the coffee table, some forgettable show playing low in the background. He'd gone quiet, picking at the cardboard rim of his drink. "There's something I need to tell you," he said finally. My stomach did that little drop it does when someone says those words. Pregnancy, criminal record, married. My brain ran through the usual suspects. He wasn't any of those. "It's complicated," he said carefully, "and you're going to have questions I can't answer, which is going to sound insane, but if this is going anywhere, I need to be honest." "Okay," I said slowly. "Honest is good." He took a breath, like he was about to dive. "I'm in witness protection." Silence. The TV murmured. A laugh track echoed at the worst possible time. I blinked. "Like, the actual federal program?" "Yeah." His eyes met mine, steady but haunted. "Real thing. Federal marshals, sealed files, new identity, the whole package." He must have seen disbelief flicker across my face because he reached into his backpack and pulled out a thin folder. Inside were documents, government letterheads, seals, his new name, the city we now lived in flagged as his relocation site. I didn't know what genuine witness protection paperwork looked like, but it looked official enough to curl my fingers. "I testified against some bad people," he said quietly. "I can't give you details. Part of the deal is I don't talk about my past. Not my real name, not where I'm from, not my family. I can't have social media. I can't contact anyone from before. If word gets out where I am..." He let the sentence trail off, eyes dropping to his hands. Every crime show I'd ever watched lit up in my head. Marshals, relocation, new identity, danger lurking if he slipped. It was dramatic, sure, but the way his voice caught on certain words made it feel heavy instead of cool. "So the name you gave me at the coffee shop?" I started. "It's the one on the papers," he said. "Legally, it's mine now, but it wasn't always. I wish I could tell you more. I just can't." I stared at the folder, at him, at the folder again. Somewhere under the shock, I felt this weird bubble of pride. Here was this man who'd done the right thing in some dangerous situation, and now he was paying for it with a life built on silence and hiding. It felt noble, tragic, a little glamorous, if I'm being honest, like dating the protagonist in a prestige drama. "If you need to walk away," he said, voice low, "I'll understand. Most people do when they hear this. It's a lot." I thought about it. About what it would mean to be with someone who had no past he could talk about never seeing old photos, never meeting relatives, never scrolling through the usual embarrassingly tagged college posts on Facebook. Then I thought about his tired eyes and the way he'd listened to me talk about my boring client work like it mattered. "I'm not most people," I said, surprising both of us. "If this is your reality, I'd rather know it than have you pretend you're just boring." He laughed softly, relief flooding his features. "I promise you, I'm not boring." I believed him. For 3 months, I respected those boundaries like they were sacred. I didn't ask about his old life. I didn't push when he dodged questions about family. When he said he couldn't have social media, I shrugged and joked that it probably made him healthier than the rest of us. He stayed at my apartment more nights than not. His place, he said, was temporary housing arranged through the program. Shared walls, shared hallways, too many eyes, not safe to bring anyone there. It made sense in the half-fog of government secrecy. Why would marshals approve random girlfriends dropping by? Money was always tight for him. He worked part-time at a clothing store, some low-pay retail job he said the marshals had helped set up under his new identity. "The pay sucks, but it keeps me off the grid," he'd say with a crooked grin. I covered most of our dinners. I bought groceries. One month, when he said his stipend was delayed and his phone might get shut off, I paid that too. He was embarrassed, grateful, insistent that he'd pay me back when things stabilized. He never felt like a leech to me. He felt like someone whose life had been blown up by forces bigger than him, trying to piece something normal together. I liked being part of that normal. Then, one afternoon, my laptop broke the spell. Noah had used it earlier to check his email. I didn't think twice about it. Later, sitting at my kitchen table, I opened the browser and started typing in the search bar. The autofill dropped down. Facebook, Noah Rivers. I froze. Rivers was the last name on his official documents, the name he told me he couldn't plaster across the internet without risking everything. My first thought was stupidly generous. Maybe it was an old, abandoned account from before, except that made no sense. This identity was supposed to be new. My pulse picked up. I clicked. A Facebook profile loaded. Profile picture. Noah. My Noah. Same jawline, same tired eyes, same smile he gave me when he thought I wasn't looking. Hundreds of friends. Timeline stretching back 10 years. My whole body went cold. No witness protection program in the world tells you to keep an active Facebook full of location tags and birthday posts under your new identity. I scrolled quickly, hoping it was some weird coincidence, some fake account someone made with his picture. But there he was in albums, tagged by friends, at parties, at bars, at a college graduation in 2016. Recent posts from last week. Comments from friends who clearly knew him well. My stomach lurched. I did what any over-online millennial would do. I opened a new tab and made a fake profile. Generic stock photo, a bland name, a couple of filler, likes to make it look less empty. It took 15 minutes. I sent him a friend request. He accepted within an hour. I spent the next hour scrolling through his life. Pictures with a woman, same one, over and over, laughing into each other's shoulders, kissing at New Year's, holding hands in hospital waiting rooms. Captions like, "Couldn't do this without you," and "My person." Her name was Sophie. Then came the photos with kids. 2 of them. Different ages, both with Noah's eyes. Birthdays, park days, Halloween costumes. Captions like, "My babies," and "Dad duties." He had children. Children he had never mentioned. Not once. Not in 3 months of sleeping in my bed, leaving his toothbrush in my bathroom, talking about futures that apparently didn't include the ones he'd already created. I clicked on Sophie's profile. Her posts weren't all public, but enough were. Enough to see the gradual shift from couple photos to kids only to rage. A recent status stared back at me. Day 537 of asking Noah for child support. The kids need winter coats, but I guess that's not as important as whatever he's running from. The comments under it were brutal. Friends, family, people accusing him of disappearing, of moving again so the courts couldn't serve him, of leaving Sophie with everything. Child support, not witness protection. I leaned back in my chair, the room tilting. The folder with the official documents flashed in my memory. The seals, the formatting, the way he'd laid them out like a performance. I realized I had no idea what real witness protection paperwork looked like. All I knew was that the man who'd cried about danger and secrecy had somehow managed to keep a decade of public Facebook posts with location tags and party photos. And 2 kids. 2 kids he'd carefully edited out of the story he told me. When the front door clicked a couple of hours later, the apartment was dark, except for the glow of my laptop on the kitchen table. His Facebook profile filled the screen. "Hey," Noah called, keys clinking into the bowl. Traffic was... He stopped when he saw me. I didn't say anything at first, just turned the screen a little so he could see his own smiling face looking back at him through 10 years of posts. The color drained from his. "Sit down," I said, my voice suddenly very calm. "We need to talk." He didn't sit. He glanced at the screen, then at me, then back at the screen like maybe, somehow, this was a prank or a glitch or some alternate universe version of him. "Marissa," he said slowly, how did you... "You used my laptop," I said. "Your Facebook auto-filled in the search bar. I clicked. That's all." His throat bobbed. "You looked through my private stuff?" "It's not private if your name is on it, and you've accepted a friend request from a stranger 20 minutes after getting it," I said. My voice still sounded weirdly calm, like it belonged to someone watching this on a screen, not living it. He stepped closer, squinting, like if he got near enough, the evidence might rearrange itself. "You said you could not have social media," I went on. "You said it wasn't safe. You said the marshals wouldn't allow it. You told me you had no contact with your old life, and yet..." I flicked the trackpad, scrolling through the timeline. Photos blurred past. Bars. Concerts. Backyard barbecues. 10 years worth of tags and check-ins. "And yet," I repeated, "here you are, for a decade, with location tags." "Okay, just slow down," he said. "I can explain." "That's good," I said, "because I'm looking at pictures of you with kids, Noah. 2 kids. Your kids, who you've never mentioned once." His face changed at that word. Kids. Something shut down behind his eyes, like a light flipping off. "It's complicated," he said. "Then uncomplicate it," I snapped. "Start with, are you actually in witness protection?" Silence stretched out. For a second, I thought he might double down, might start weaving some new layer of the lie. "No," he said finally, barely audible. "I'm not." The folder in my memory turned to ash. "So those documents you showed me?" "Mock-ups," he muttered. "I altered some templates I found. They're not real." I inhaled, slow and sharp. "You forged government paperwork to sell your story." "I didn't sell anything, Then what is this?" I gestured at the screen. "What is any of this, Noah? Who are the kids? Who is Sophie? Why does your ex have public posts about you dodging child support for over a year?" His jaw clenched. "You looked at her page, too." "She tagged you," I said flatly. "And she's posting about your kids needing winter coats while you're on my couch pretending you're broke because of some imaginary program." He started pacing, hands on his head, fingers digging into his hair. "You don't understand," he said. "You're seeing one side. Sophie's poisoned everyone against me. She twists everything. She makes me look like the bad guy." "I didn't need Sophie to do that," I said. "You did a great job on your own when you invented witness protection instead of telling me you have children." "I didn't invent." "Okay, yes, I did," he snapped, then ran a hand over his face. "I screwed up, all right? But I was scared. If I'd told you the truth on the second date, that I'm divorced, that I have 2 kids, that there's this whole mess with court orders, you would have run. Everybody runs." He looked at me like that was the part that should break my heart. Like the tragedy here was women being allergic to divorced dads. "You know what most people say when they're divorced with kids?" I said. "They say, 'I'm divorced. I have kids.' They don't create fake marshals and show forged documents." "You're reducing it," he said. "It's not that simple. Sophie's not some saint mom you're picturing. She's controlling. She's manipulative. She's the one raising the kids," I cut in. "Meanwhile, you've been moving around so the courts can't serve you. That's what her posts say. Are they lying?" His eyes flashed. "She has money. Her parents help. The kids aren't suffering. The child support is just another way to control me, to keep me tied to her. I need it out." "You need it out of parenting?" I asked. "Or out of paying for parenting?" "That's not fair." "It's not?" I laughed once, a sharp, ugly sound. "You lied about everything, Noah. Your past, your name, your family, your social media, your kids, your finances. You let me think you were in danger. You let me feel guilty for asking basic questions. You let me pay for almost everything, while you framed it as some noble sacrifice you made for justice." "I never asked you to pay," he shot back. "You offered." "Because you told me the marshals were late with your stipend," I said. "Because you told me you couldn't get a better job without blowing your cover. You stacked the deck so that any basic curiosity looked insensitive, and any basic boundary looked cruel." He flinched like the words hit him physically. "I made one mistake," he said, voice rising. "One lie that got away from me. Everything else was me just trying to live with it. I was terrified that if I took it back, I'd lose you." "One mistake?" I repeated. "No. The second you decided to tell me you were in witness protection instead of divorced with kids, that was one lie. Every day you doubled down on it was a new choice. Every time you let me feel sorry for you, every time you watched me shut down my own questions because I didn't want to endanger you, that was another choice. 3 months of choices." He was breathing hard now, shoulder muscles tight. So what? He demanded. You're just going to throw this away? Over something I can fix? I'll be honest with you from now on. I'll tell you anything you want. I'll introduce you to my kids eventually. We can work through. We, I said, my voice going flat. There is no we anymore. His mouth opened, then closed. You lied to me about having kids, I said. You lied to me about the law. You lied to me about your entire existence. I don't date men who think abandoning their children and dodging court orders is a personality quirk they can workshop away with enough sad eyes and apologies. I didn't abandon them, he snapped. God, you sound just like Sophie. She weaponizes those kids, uses them as leverage. I haven't met her, I said. All I know is what I see. She's posting about coats and rent, and you're here with me spinning spy stories. We stared at each other over the glow of his Facebook page. The distance between us felt like an entire country. So that's it, he said finally. We're done. Over a stupid lie. Lies, I corrected. Plural. And no, we're not done over a lie. We're done because every single thing you've told me has been built on a foundation of fiction. I can't trust anything you say anymore. Not your name, not your past, not your idea of responsibility. There's nothing left to work with. His jaw flexed. You'll regret this, he said. You think you're better than everybody else. You think you're so righteous. I don't think I'm righteous, I said softly. I just think kids deserve their father's support. And I deserve a boyfriend who doesn't need a falsified government seal to explain his life. He grabbed his backpack, his movements jerky. For a second, I thought he might slam something, break something, grab my laptop and smash it. Instead, he stood there shaking, then shouldered the bag and walked to the door. This is exactly why I lied, he said, hand on the knob, because I knew you'd react like this. You women are all the same. Take his side, Judge, pile on. It's not sides, I said, it's reality. He opened the door and left. The slam rattled the picture frames. Silence flooded in behind him, thick and heavy. My apartment suddenly felt too big, too empty, like half of it had been carved out and replaced with echo. For a long time, I just sat there, the Facebook page still open. Photos of him holding his kids stared back at me, all teeth and joy and dad life captions that now read like a ghost. I didn't cry right away. I just felt stupid, violated, like someone had broken into my home and rearranged all the furniture half an inch to the left so nothing fit anymore. 3 months. 3 months of believing there were marshals somewhere, of worrying I might accidentally get him killed by tagging him in a meme. Really, he'd just been hiding from a judge and an obligation. My phone buzzed around midnight. Unknown number. We need to talk. You're being unreasonable. I can explain if you'd just listen. I stared at it, thumb hovering over the reply bubble. Another buzz. Ignoring me won't make this go away. We can fix this, Marissa. You're blowing everything out of proportion. I put the phone face down on the table. He called next. I watched his name light up the screen again and again, watched it time out and go to voicemail. After the 5th call, my phone buzzed with a new notification, a voicemail transcription. Marissa, pick up. This is childish. You're acting like I'm some monster when I just made a mistake. You owe me a chance to explain. If you keep ignoring me, you're going to regret it. Owe him. I blocked his number. The next evening, my doorbell rang. Once, twice, then aggressively. Marissa, I know you're home, his voice filtered through the door. Your car's here. We're not doing this. Open up. My heartbeat banged against my ribs. I stood in the hallway, barefoot, staring at the door like it might sprout teeth. He knocked for 15 minutes straight, called my name, switched between pleading and accusing, between please, baby, and you're being dramatic. It took everything in me not to shout back, not to feed the fire. Eventually, the knocking stopped. My knees gave out, and I slid down the wall, shaking. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. 2 days later, another unknown number lit up my phone. I let it go to voicemail, then checked the transcription. Hi, Marissa. This is Amber. I'm Noah's best friend. We need to talk about what you did. Of course. Because men like Noah never fall alone. They come with a chorus. I called the number back, anger finally outrunning fear. Marissa? The voice on the other end was sharp, female, already annoyed. This is her, I said. And just so you know, I'm not interested in being yelled at on behalf of a man who lied about witness protection. Amber scoffed. Wow, so you really buy Sophie's version of everything, huh? Noah told me all about how you snooped through his private stuff, twisted what you saw, and dumped him out of nowhere. What is wrong with you? Did he mention the part where he fabricated a federal program and hid his kids from me for 3 months? I asked. Or the part where he's been dodging child support? He told me you're parroting Sophie's talking points, Amber said. Those kids are fine. Their mom has money. Her parents help. Noah's just trying to start over and you stabbed him in the back. I'm not responsible for his court orders, I said. I'm responsible for my own boundaries. And my boundary is that I don't date men who abandon their children and then lie about being undercover for the government. You are being ridiculous, she snapped. He cared about you. He was vulnerable with you. He made one mistake and you're acting like he's some criminal. You women are all the same, judgy and ungrateful. One mistake is forgetting to mention you hate cilantro, I said. 3 months of layered lies is a pattern, and you calling to guilt trip me is not going to change that. Whatever, she said. He's better off without you. Enjoy being alone with your spreadsheets. She hung up. I stared at my dark phone in the quiet of my kitchen and realized something important. The story Noah told me about danger had never been about criminals hunting him. The danger was how quickly he could rewrite reality, and how many people were willing to help him do it. 2 days of silence was all I got. Then my phone lit up with a number I didn't recognize and a name I absolutely did. Janet, Noah's mom, because he'd once passed me the phone at dinner so I could say a quick, awkward hello. I watched it ring out, let it go to voicemail. Curiosity won, so I read the transcription. Marissa, hi honey, this is Janet, Noah's mom. We really need to talk. Call me back, it's important. Important, of course. I called. She answered on the first ring. Marissa, thank God. I was worried you'd ignore me too. I braced myself. Hi Janet. Her voice came through, sugary and strained, the way people talk when they're wrapping razor blades in cotton candy. I can't believe what you've done to my son. There it was, no warm-up. What I've done, I repeated. Yes, she said. He told me everything. You went through his private things, attacked him over a misunderstanding, kicked him out like he's trash. He's devastated. He hasn't slept. He's barely eating. Guilt, delivered like a script she'd rehearsed. I didn't go through his private things, I said. His Facebook autofilled on my laptop, and what I saw there wasn't a misunderstanding. It was his actual life. You saw Sophie's poison, Janet snapped, the sweetness dropping. She's been smearing him for months, twisting everything. Those posts about child support, she leaves out how she treated him. She leaves out what she put him through. Does she leave out the part where they have 2 kids together? I asked. Because that's what he left out when he moved into my life. Janet's breath caught. He didn't move into your life. You're being dramatic. He stayed with you sometimes, that's all. He stayed 5 nights a week, I said. Kept a drawer here, talked about our future, all while pretending his past, and his children, didn't exist. You don't understand, she said. Sophie is difficult, controlling. She weaponizes those kids. Noah had to get away. Get away from his responsibilities? I asked. From court orders? From buying coats? That's not fair, she said sharply. You're taking her side without knowing the full story. You think child support is just black and white? He doesn't have the money. He barely survives as it is. I thought about my budget spreadsheet, the columns where his name never appeared, because I'd simply absorbed everything without question. He has money for going out, I said, for living by himself, for gas and food and streaming subscriptions. He just doesn't have money for his own children. You are heartless, she hissed, just like Sophie, just like the courts. He tried to be honest with you, and you crucified him. He tried to be honest with me? I repeated. He told me he was in witness protection. He forged federal documents. He used that lie to shut down any questions and get me to pay for his life. That's not honesty. That's manipulation. Witness protection, child support, whatever you want to call it, she said. The point is, he was scared. He thought if he told you the truth, you'd judge him, and you did. Janet, I said carefully, fear doesn't turn a lie into the truth, and being a parent isn't optional because you're uncomfortable. She went quiet, then regrouped. He made mistakes, she said, voice softer. But he doesn't deserve to lose everything over them. You broke up with him, fine, but you need to stop punishing him. Stop meddling. Let him figure this out without everyone ganging up on him. I'm not punishing him, I said. I blocked his number. That's it. Good, she said quickly. Then keep it that way. Don't talk to Sophie. Don't respond if anyone reaches out. You don't know how vindictive that woman is. She'll drag you into court drama. She'll twist your words. For everyone's sake, for the kids' sake, stay out of it. And there it was again. For the kids' sake, used as a club to silence anything that might actually help them. I haven't talked to Sophie, I said. But if I do, I'll keep one thing in mind. Those kids are entitled to support from both parents. That's what's for their sake. Janet made a small, furious sound. You're young, she said. You don't understand how complicated adult relationships are. One day when you have kids, maybe you'll see. If I have kids, I said, I plan to show up for them. She hung up on me. I stood in my kitchen listening to the deadline, my heart pounding, the words "let this go," and for the kids' sake echoing after her. It wasn't even about me anymore. It was about the role I was being assigned in their story. The villain. The cold outsider who'd ruined their boy. That night, I dreamed about paperwork, court forms, government seals, child support orders. In the dream, all the names blurred and rearranged, and no matter how many times I read them, I couldn't figure out who was responsible for what. The next day, reality sent its own paperwork. It arrived in my inbox as a long, rambling email from Noah. The subject line, "You left me no choice." I hesitated, then opened it. It started with him saying how hurt he was, how blindsided, how I'd betrayed his trust by snooping and colluding with his abuser, Sophie. Then it pivoted. He accused me of financial abuse. He said I'd used his sensitive witness protection information to control him, that I'd dangled my money over him like a leash, that I'd forced him to rely on me and then cut him off to punish him when he wouldn't obey. He wrote the word obey. He claimed I'd threatened him, that I'd said I'd go to the courts, to Sophie, to the police, unless he did what I wanted. I had said none of that. Then came the hook at the end. "I don't want to do this, but you've left me no choice. I'm going to the police. I'm going to file a report for financial abuse and coercive control. I'm going to tell them everything about your behavior and about my witness protection status. If you want to avoid involving law enforcement, we need to talk. Call me, and we can work something out." There it was, in black and white, a threat disguised as reluctance. Blackmail dressed up as concern. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped my phone. I forwarded the email to my personal address, then took screenshots, one of the subject line, one of the paragraph where he used the word abuse, one of the last lines where he linked avoid police involvement with "we need to talk." Then I did something I should have done the minute he started pounding on my door. I called Caleb. Caleb is the kind of friend you make when you're 22 and tired of explaining your jokes. We'd met at a client mixer years ago, bonded over mutual sarcasm, and never quite stopped talking after that. He also happened to be a lawyer. He picked up on the second ring. "Hey, Caldwell, what disaster?" "Hypothetical," I said, my voice too high. "What if, just say what if, a guy lied about being in witness protection, forged documents, turned out to be hiding from child support, and then, after you broke up with him, sent you an email threatening to go to the police for financial abuse unless you agreed to talk?" There was a beat of silence. "Hypothetical?" he repeated. "Extremely hypothetical," I said. "Except not at all." "Send me the email," he said. The joking tone evaporated. "All of it. Forward it. Screenshots, too." I did. The little whoosh of the sent email felt like launching a flare into the sky. He read it while we were still on the phone. I heard him exhale sharply. "Okay," he said. "First off, breathe. Second, this is textbook attempted extortion. He's threatening false police reports to pressure you into contact. That's not a gray area. That's manipulation with a legal costume." "But he already filed something?" "Or he will," I said. "If he goes in there first and tells them I abused him?" "Then we show them the receipts," Caleb said. "All of them. The email, any texts, his Facebook, his ex's posts about child support, the timeline of him lying to you for months. The fact that you paid for things voluntarily while he spun a fake witness protection story." "What do I do?" I whispered. "You do nothing," he said. "You don't respond to him. You don't engage. You document. Every text, every email, every call log. If he actually goes to the police, that's good. It means we get to show an officer just how much he's been lying." "That doesn't sound good," I muttered, having cops show up at my door. "It's scary," he admitted, "but it's safer than letting him control the narrative in the dark. If they come, you tell the truth and show them everything. They're not stupid. False reports are a crime, too." After I hung up, I started building a digital wall. Screenshots, call logs, copies of the fake witness protection documents he'd shown me, photos of his Facebook posts, of Sophie's statuses about unpaid support, Janet's number, Amber's number. I labeled everything with dates. Evidence folder, Noah. The waiting was the worst part. Every time my phone buzzed, my stomach flipped. Every knock on the door sounded like a battering ram. Every siren outside my building made my shoulders tense. 3 days later, early evening, there was a knock. Not impatient, not frantic, firm, professional. I looked through the peephole. 2 men in uniform. My vision tunneled for a second. I opened the door anyway. Ms. Caldwell? The older one asked. That's me, I said, glad my voice didn't shake as much as my hands. We're with the city police department, he said, holding up a badge. We'd like to ask you a few questions about a complaint we received. From Noah Rivers, I said. It wasn't a guess. A flicker of surprise crossed the younger officer's face. Yes, ma'am. I stepped back. Come in. We sat at my kitchen table, the same one that had held Noah's fake documents and real betrayal. The older officer did most of the talking. He explained that Noah had filed a report claiming I'd financially abused him, threatened his safety, and used his witness protection status to control him. The word sounded even more absurd out loud. Before we go any further, I said, carefully sliding my laptop toward them, I need you to know that he is not in witness protection. The younger officer's eyebrows twitched. How do you know that? The older asked. Because he lied to me about being in it, I said, opening the folder labeled Noah. He forged documents and used that story to keep me from asking questions. He told me he couldn't have social media, couldn't talk about his past, couldn't let me meet his family. Then I found this. I clicked open the screenshots of his Facebook profile, 10 years of posts, location tags, photos with Sophie and the kids. This account has been active for a decade, I said. You don't get relocated with sealed files and keep checking in at bars. When I confronted him, he admitted there was no program. He told me he lied because he was scared I'd judge him for being divorced with children and owing child support. I pulled up the email he'd sent me next. Then he sent this, saying he'd go to the police and report me for abuse unless I agreed to talk. My friend, he's a lawyer, said this is attempted extortion. The older officer read the email, his mouth tightening. He also said he was going to expose his witness protection status, I continued. That's not a thing people in real programs threaten to do. That's a thing liars say when they're trying to scare you. I showed them the call logs, the blocked numbers, the voicemail transcriptions, the texts from Amber and Janet pressuring me to stop punishing him and stay out of court stuff. I showed them Sophie's public post about him dodging child support. The older officer took notes. The younger's face shifted from neutral to something like annoyance. How long were you involved with Mr. Rivers? The older one asked. 3 months, I said. I broke up with him when I found out about the kids and the lies. I haven't seen him in person since. He's been trying to force contact through threats. And you've never controlled his finances? Taken his money? Restricted his access to account information? The younger officer asked. I paid for dinners, I said. Groceries. His phone bill once. All from my accounts. He doesn't know my passwords. The only person controlling money here was him, by lying about why he struggled and letting me pick up the slack while he ran from court. They glanced at each other. All right, the older one said, closing my laptop gently. Based on what you've shown us, Ms. Caldwell, his report doesn't appear to be supported by the evidence. We'll be following up with him. So this won't go on some record? I asked. For me, I mean? He shook his head. False reports are taken seriously. If anything, this creates a record about his behavior, not yours. You might want to consider a restraining order if the contact continues. I'll think about it, I said. They stood. At the door, the older officer paused. For what it's worth, he said, softer now. You did the right thing bringing documentation. A lot of people don't, and it turns into he said, she said. This is pretty clear. After they left, I locked the door and slid down it, my back to the wood, knees pulled to my chest. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt hollowed out. My phone buzzed on the floor beside me. Unknown number again? This time, the preview wasn't anger. It was something like weary courtesy. Hi, Marissa. I'm Sophie. I think we need to talk about Noah. I didn't respond right away. I stared at the message, the name Sophie, the subtle exhaustion in the way she wrote. I think we need to talk. Not angry, not accusatory, just tired. The kind of tired you only earn by holding a family together alone. I breathed in, breathed out, and typed back. Hi, I'm here. What's going on? She replied within seconds. Can you talk on the phone? It's easier than texting. Something in my chest tightened. I didn't owe her this. I didn't owe Noah's mess one more second of my life. But the kids, those kids, had been haunting every thought I'd had since this started. I called. She picked up on the first ring. Marissa? Her voice was low, hoarse, like someone who hadn't slept properly in a year. Thank you for calling me back. I know this is weird. It's okay, I said. I'm sorry you even know my name. None of this should have touched your life again. There was a hollow laugh on the other end. If only. She took a breath, then, I'll just say it. I saw you pop up in the friends list on an account he accepted recently. You weren't there before, and I recognized your picture from his tagged photos." She paused. "So, I figured you didn't know." "No," I said, "I didn't." "Right," her voice softened. "I'm sorry." There were a dozen things I wanted to say. Questions, accusations, apologies that weren't mine to give. But Sophie continued first. "Noah and I were together for 8 years," she said. "We have 2 kids together. He was fine in the beginning. Present. Helpful. But then he got restless. Wanted to change jobs, change cities, change his entire life every 6 months. I kept saying the kids needed stability. He said I was holding him back." There was no bitterness in her voice, just bone-deep fatigue. "And then one day," she said quietly, "I came home from work and he was gone. He'd taken a few things, left some clothes, and that was it. No note, no call, just gone." I pressed my fingertips into the table. "I'm so sorry." "It sucked," she said. "But the worst part wasn't the leaving. It was everything after." She hesitated, then asked, "How much has he told you?" "Nothing," I said. "He told me he was in witness protection, that he couldn't talk about his past, couldn't have social media, couldn't contact anyone from before. That's why I didn't know anything." There was a long silence. "You're kidding," she said flatly. "I wish." Another silence. Then she exhaled, sharp, disbelieving. "Witness protection. Wow, that's new." "New?" I echoed. "He has a new story every time," she said. "Once he told a girl I cheated on him with his best friend and tried to ruin his life. Once he said he had PTSD from military operations, except he's never been in the military. Once he said he was a recovering addict, which is the only story I'd almost believe if he hadn't made it up." "Sophie," I said gently, "I don't know how to ask this without sounding rude, but why call me? Why now?" She didn't get offended. She seemed grateful for the question. "Because someone I trust told me he just got served at work," she said. "And whenever he gets cornered, he spirals. He says anything, does anything." A pause. "And he pulls new people into the blast radius. I don't want you becoming collateral damage." I swallowed, hard. "He's already filed one false report." "I know," she said quietly. "He did it to me too." My pulse kicked. "He accused you?" I asked. "Of everything," she said. "Stealing his money, threatening him, endangering the kids, you name it. When that didn't work, he tried claiming I was unstable." Her voice shook, then steadied. "It didn't stick. The judge wasn't an idiot." I gripped the phone tighter. "Why didn't you tell someone sooner? Why didn't anyone warn me?" She sighed. "I've tried. His mom, his friends, they protect him from consequences. They enable him. Anyone who calls him out gets cut off, labeled an enemy. And he moves so often there's never enough time for anyone to compare notes." The words settled like dust around us. "We've been trying to serve him child support papers for over a year," she continued. "He keeps moving, switching jobs, staying with people, telling landlords he's traveling. He's racked up over $15,000 in unpaid support." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "And the kids, they don't understand why their dad doesn't come around, don't understand why he stopped calling." My heart squeezed. "I saw the pictures," I whispered, "on Facebook." "Yeah," she said. "The good times. Before." There was a long beat where neither of us spoke. Then Sophie cleared her throat. "Marissa, I know this is a lot, and I don't want to drag you into anything more, but since you were with him recently, do you know where he's staying or where he works? I'm not trying to trap him, I swear. I just want the legal process to happen so the kids can get what they need." For a moment, guilt and instinct warred inside me. I shouldn't be involved. I shouldn't get pulled deeper. I shouldn't. But those kids with the same eyes as the man who'd lied to me, those kids he'd erased from his life. I exhaled. "Yes," I said, "I know." Sophie didn't explode with victory. She didn't gloat. She didn't even sound relieved. She sounded grateful, quietly, humbly grateful. "Thank you," she said. "I'll give the addresses to my lawyer. They'll handle the rest." "I'm sorry," I said. "If I'd known earlier." "It's not your fault," she said. "He's good at this, at making people want to believe him." A sigh. "You're not the first. You won't be the last. But you're one of the few who didn't ignore the red flags." A bitter laugh slipped out. "They weren't even red flags. They were flares." "Still," she said, "you listened." A beat of silence passed. Then she added softly, "If he reaches out again, please be careful. He gets unpredictable when he feels cornered." I nodded even though she couldn't see me. "You too." We ended the call, both heavier and lighter at the same time. I set my phone down on the table and stared at nothing, the apartment humming with refrigerator noise and the faint static of a life cracking open. I thought I was done. But that night, around 11 p.m., my phone buzzed again. Blocked number, voicemail, transcription loading slowly, like the universe wanted me to hear this in slow motion. You talked to Sophie. You think you're so much better than everyone. They served me at work today, in front of everyone, because of you. I lost my job. I have nothing now. You'll pay for this. I didn't reply. I forwarded the voicemail to Caleb. Then I blocked the number. My apartment was quiet again, but not peacefully quiet. Tense quiet, like the air before a storm unloads. I sat very still, hands in my lap, and whispered to no one. This is not my circus, not my monkeys. But it was already too late. The next morning, my phone rang with another unfamiliar number. I expected Noah, or Janet, or Amber. But when I answered, the voice on the other end was calm, tired, and deeply grateful. Marissa, it's Sophie. You helped more than you know. We just got confirmation. He's officially served. Court date is set. And then, you may have helped my kids get the support they've been owed for a long time. I didn't cry, but something inside me finally unclenched. I should have known the quiet wouldn't last. 3 days passed. 3 entire days without a text, a call, a blocked number voicemail. I didn't realize how tightly I'd been holding myself until the silence made my shoulders drop half an inch. I wasn't sleeping well, but at least I wasn't jumping at every phone vibration. Then, on the 4th evening, just as the sun was draining out of the sky and the apartment had settled into that soft twilight hum, my phone buzzed with a new message. Not from Noah, not from a blocked number. From Caleb. Caleb, call me when you're home. Not urgent, but important. My stomach tightened. I called him immediately. Hey, he answered. Before you freak out, nothing bad happened. Actually, something predictable happened. Predictable. With Noah, that meant worse. What is it? I asked. He sighed. His entourage is escalating. I closed my eyes. Amber? Worse, he said. His mother. Of course. What did she do? I whispered. She called my office. My breath hitched. What? She said she was concerned about your mental state and wanted to know if I was the lawyer helping you falsely accuse her son. I shut it down immediately. I pressed a hand to my forehead. She tried to get information about me? She tried to rattle you, he corrected gently, and to see if she could intimidate your legal support. She failed. I didn't say anything. Caleb did. Marissa, he said quietly, you're dealing with a family that has spent years protecting Noah from consequences. They're not trying to destroy you. They're trying to preserve their fantasy that he's innocent and everyone else is out to get him. Don't internalize their delusion. I nodded even though he couldn't see me. Thanks. Really. The call ended, but the tremor in my hands didn't. I paced my kitchen. I scrubbed the already clean counter. I reorganized the drawer where I kept tea. My body needed something to do while my brain tried to claw back the illusion of control. An hour later, another message dinged on my phone. I froze. A Facebook message request from someone I didn't know. A woman, about mid-40s, profile picture of her with 2 kids. Sophie's sister. I hesitated before opening it. Hi, Marissa. I know you don't know me. Sophie told me you've been through a lot because of Noah, and I just wanted to say thank you. What you did, it mattered, more than you know. My throat tightened. Before I could type a reply, a second message appeared. The kids have been asking about their coats. They're excited. They keep saying, maybe Daddy will help this time. I really hope they get to feel that. Even once. Thank you for helping make it possible. I pressed a hand over my mouth, tears burning unexpectedly behind my eyes. This was what Noah had erased when he spun his witness protection fiction. Real children, real needs, real people holding everything together while he hid behind lies. I wrote back simply, you don't owe me thanks. I just told the truth. I hope things get better for them, for all of you. She sent back a heart emoji, small but strangely grounding. For a few hours, I felt steady again. The next morning, my phone rang at 7:18 a.m. I didn't recognize the number, but it wasn't blocked. I answered cautiously. Hello? A brittle voice rushed out immediately. Marissa, this is Janet. My stomach dropped. She didn't wait for me to respond. What did you do? She demanded. Here it was, the storm. What are you talking about? I asked warily. You talked to her, she snapped. To Sophie, to that woman. And now Noah has been served at his job, humiliated in front of everyone. They fired him. He's staying on my couch. He's devastated. I closed my eyes. Janet, I didn't fire him. I didn't make him avoid court orders for a year. I didn't make him lie about witness protection. I didn't—
You ruined him, she shrieked. My son is broken because of what you did.
I held the phone away from my ear. Janet, I said steadily, your son ruined his own life. I didn't participate in his lies anymore, that's all. You could have kept your mouth shut, she snapped. You could have stayed out of it. But no, you had to go digging. You had to destroy everything he was rebuilding. Rebuilding? I repeated. With lies? With forged documents? With abandoning his kids? They're fine, she yelled. Sophie's parents have money. The kids aren't starving. Noah didn't need to pay anything. This witch hunt is just her getting revenge. I felt something go cold inside me. Janet, I said, voice low, child support isn't optional. It's not a charity donation. It's a legal responsibility. Noah is a good man, she insisted. He just needs a clean slate. He needs time. He had time, I said, 18 months of it. She inhaled sharply. You heartless little— I hung up. I didn't slam the phone. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just hung up. That, more than anything, stunned me. A year ago, a confrontation like that would have wrecked me. But now, it felt like swatting away smoke. At noon, Caleb called. Hey, he said, you okay? Janet, I said. Oh boy, he muttered. She didn't threaten to sue you, did she? She threatened everything, I said. But mostly she just screamed. He sighed. This is classic triangulation. Noah messed up, so his mother is trying to erase that by declaring everything your fault. It's delusional, but predictable. Does it stop? I asked. Ever? Yes, he said immediately. Because the legal system is slow, but it is not stupid. Once the court process starts, everything narrows to facts. Judges care about paperwork, not tantrums. I exhaled shakily. Thank God. And Marissa, he added, you're doing everything right. Keep documenting, keep blocking, do not respond to Noah, no matter what he says. I know, I whispered. I'm trying. I'm proud of you, he said. The words hit harder than I expected. That evening, I curled up on my couch with a blanket, my apartment dim except for a small lamp. I tried to watch a show, but wasn't absorbing anything. My mind kept replaying voices. Janet's rage, Sophie's weariness, Caleb's calm. And then, completely out of nowhere, my phone pinged with an email. When I read the sender, something inside me iced over. From Noah Rivers. Subject: I hope you're satisfied. I clicked it open. The email was long, ranting, unraveling, dripping with self-pity and venom. But the ending was the part that sank into my bones. I lost my job because of you. I lost my apartment because of you. I have nothing because of you. Court's in 2 weeks and I'll be paying for your vindictiveness for years. I hope it was worth it. I hope you're happy. I read it twice. Then I deleted it. Didn't respond. Did not forward it to Caleb yet. Just pressed delete, then blocked the address. And as the screen went blank, I whispered to the empty room. It was never revenge. I just stopped lying for you. The next morning, I woke to a single text message from Sophie. Court date set. He can't dodge it anymore. Judge won't be lenient. Thank you again. My kids needed someone to finally expose the truth. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, I hope this is the beginning of something better for them. Her reply came quickly. It is, because of you. For the first time in weeks, I felt something shift inside me. Not peace, not closure, but clarity. A clean slice through the fog. A new truth humming beneath my skin. You don't have to carry the consequences someone else created. You just have to stop shielding them. The court date crept closer the way a storm shows up on the radar. Small, distant, then suddenly filling the whole screen. I wasn't going. I wasn't a witness. I wasn't called. Technically, I was just a footnote in the file. But my phone turned into a barometer for the pressure. Caleb messaged me every few days. Reminder, do not respond if he reaches out. Block and screenshot. You're doing great. Sophie checked in once or twice, never oversharing, never venting, just sending small updates like drifting paper boats. His lawyer tried to argue he couldn't afford support. Judge didn't love the year of dodging service. And kids asked if Daddy would be there. He wasn't. They were disappointed, but not surprised. Every message felt like opening a window in a room I'd been trapped in. It stung a little, but the air was cleaner. For a while, Noah was silent. Then, 5 days before court, he surged. First came an unknown number. You can still fix this. Tell Sophie you lied. Tell the cops you overreacted. If you don't, I'm going to lose everything. Blocked. Then another. Do you really think you're better than me? You think you've never made mistakes? One day you'll need mercy, and no one will give it to you. Screenshot blocked. Then a third, late at night. dripping with that particular intoxicated self-pity. You can practically hear slurring through the words. I loved you. I told you things I never told anyone, and you repaid me by teaming up with my abuser. You're sick. You need help. I read it twice, feeling nothing. That was new. No adrenaline spike, no shaking hands, just a tired kind of observation, like watching someone pound on a glass wall they couldn't see. I forwarded the screenshots to Caleb. Good, he replied. He's building his own record. Just hang on. The night before court, the last person I expected to hear from called. My phone lit up with Mom. Not my mom, Noah's mom. Somehow, at some point, she'd found my mother on Facebook and sent her a message long enough to require multiple see more clicks. My mom, bless her, had responded with exactly one sentence. Please do not contact me about your son again. Then she'd called me. Now, seeing her name on my screen again, I considered letting it ring out. Instead, I answered, Hello? Her voice was different this time, still sharp around the edges, but dulled by something like panic. Marissa, she said, please don't hang up, just listen. I didn't speak. He has court tomorrow, she said, as if I somehow didn't know. He's terrified. He hasn't eaten in 2 days. He's not well. I leaned against the counter, staring at the small crack in the tile grout. I'm sorry he's scared, I said, but that's between him and the judge, not me. You could talk to Sophie, she rushed on. You could tell her to ease up. Tell her to arrange something privately. The court doesn't have to be this harsh. It's just money. She doesn't need it the way she says she does. Her parents. Janet, I cut in, sharper than I intended. Stop. She did. The silence on the line buzzed in my ear. You keep saying it's just money, I said. But that just money is groceries and coats and school trips and asthma inhalers and shoes they outgrow in 2 months. It's stability. It's not optional. You don't understand, she said, her voice cracking. He's my son. I'm watching him fall apart. I'm watching him lose everything. Does he really deserve this? To be crushed for a few mistakes? My chest tightened, not with sympathy exactly, but with something adjacent. I could imagine it, watching someone you love self-destruct and wanting desperately to blame anything else, anyone else. He's not being crushed for a few mistakes, I said softly. He's facing consequences for abandoning his kids, dodging court orders, lying about being in federal witness protection, forging documents, filing false reports, and trying to blackmail me. That's not a bad week. That's a pattern. She sucked in a breath. And what about you? She shot back. You're so perfect? You've never hurt anyone? Of course I have, I said. Just not like this. And when I have, I didn't drag strangers into court to cover it up. A beat passed. Then her voice shifted again, scraping down to something raw. He's all I have, she whispered. If they arrest him, if they garnish his wages, if he can't get work, what happens to him? He learns, I said, or he doesn't. Either way, the kids get what they need. That's what matters. For the kids' sake, she said, clinging to the phrase like a lifeline. Don't you see? This will destroy him. I'm begging you. Call Sophie. Tell her. No, I said. The word came out clean, solid, no tremor. For a moment, there was nothing on the line but our breathing. Then she said very quietly, You're cruel, just like the rest of them. I'm not cruel, I said. I just stopped cushioning him from the impact of his own choices. There's a difference. She hung up. I set the phone down, my hand steady. A year ago, that "you're cruel" would have burrowed under my skin and nested there, hatching doubt. Now, it bounced off something sturdier. Not because I suddenly believed I was perfect, but because I finally understood. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do, for a system, for a family, for yourself, is refuse to interfere. Court day came like any other weekday. Emails, traffic, a noisy neighbor's early morning vacuum. I went to work. I answered client calls. I made coffee that tasted faintly like burned toast because I wasn't paying attention. Around noon, in the middle of drafting a campaign brief, my phone buzzed on my desk. Sophie. My pulse jumped. I stared at the screen for a full 5 seconds before sliding it open. We're out. Then, Judge was not amused. I swallowed and typed back. What happened? There was a longer pause this time. Then a block of text appeared. He didn't show up at first. Judge waited 10 minutes, then started without him, said they had proof he'd been properly served. He came in halfway through, looking like he hadn't slept in a week, tried to say he was confused about the date. Judge didn't buy it. Another bubble. They went through everything, missed payments, the attempts to serve him, social media, his sudden job loss. He tried to blame me, his boss, the system, Everyone but himself. Judge ordered back support and wage garnishment going forward. Warned him that if he skipped again, there'd be a warrant. I exhaled a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "How are the kids?" I asked. "Tired, bored. They played with my sister in the hallway while we waited. They didn't see him. Not today." A pause. My oldest asked, "Did Daddy help us?" I told them, "The judge is making sure you get what you need. It's the closest to the truth I can give them without breaking their hearts." My eyes stung. "I'm glad it's finally moving forward," I wrote. "You deserve that." They did. "We did," she replied, "and you helped, whether you meant to or not." I thought of the night I'd sat in my kitchen with my laptop glowing, staring at photos of Noah's kids, and feeling like the world had tilted. I hadn't set out to blow up his life. I'd just refused to keep pretending gravity didn't exist. "I didn't do anything special," I typed. "I just didn't look away." "Most people do," she wrote. "That's what made the difference." We ended the conversation there, both a little lighter. Life didn't snap back to normal after that. There were still echoes. Janet posted vague Facebook rants about heartless women and broken systems. Amber subtweeted about fake allies and girls who weaponize court. I muted them. Noah tried one more time about a week later, an email from yet another address. "I hope you're satisfied. You won. I lost. I'll be paying for your hatred for years. Courts took everything. I have nothing. I hope your perfect little conscience is at peace." I read it once, then I dragged it into a new folder labeled Noah, Archive, and didn't respond. Not anger, not fear. Just record keeping. Caleb told me the DA was reviewing the false report. Maybe charges, maybe not. Either way, I had what I needed if Noah tried to spin the story again. The real change wasn't in his life, it was in mine. I started sleeping through the night again. The knot between my shoulder blades loosened. Little by little, my world stopped shrinking around his chaos. One Friday, months later, my coworker dragged me out to a rooftop bar. "It's time," she said, thrusting a drink into my hand. "You've done the trauma processing. You've color-coded the trauma processing. You've probably made a spreadsheet about your boundaries. You're allowed to flirt with someone who doesn't think the government is his personal alibi." I laughed, the sound surprising both of us. She wasn't wrong. I had, in fact, made a spreadsheet. Columns labeled red flag, yellow flag, green flag, notes about listening for how people talk about their exes, their kids, their responsibilities. I'd even made a tab titled Non-Negotiables. Number 1, if someone has children, they actually parent them. Number 2, no one gets to use secrecy to make me feel guilty for needing basic information. On the rooftop, city lights fuzzing into bokeh against the dark, a guy struck up a conversation with me at the bar. He was cute, funny, asked what I did, and actually listened to the answer. At some point, he mentioned his daughter in passing. I felt my chest clench reflexively. Then I watched him talk about her, eyes soft, posture relaxed, telling stories about school projects and soccer games, and how he'd negotiated bedtimes with his ex. There was no bitterness, no vanished context, just love and logistics. "I co-parent with my ex," he said simply. "It's not always easy, but we make it work. Kid's the priority. That's just how it should be." I believed him. Not because I suddenly trusted men again, or because a rooftop conversation could erase forged documents and police at my door, but because now I had ballast. Not the kind I used to worship. Budget cells and off-peak appliances and perfectly planned calendars. A different kind. The ballast of knowing where I ended and someone else began. Of recognizing that I couldn't fix anyone's life by sacrificing my own. Of understanding that walking away from a lie isn't cruelty, it's self-respect. Later that night, when my coworker asked if I'd given him my number, I smiled. "I did," I said. "We'll see." She grinned. "Look at you, back in the game." "Carefully," I said. "But yeah, I guess I am." On the Uber ride home, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Sophie. "Hey, quick update. First payment hit. Kids got their coats. Took them shopping today. They picked the brightest, ugliest colors I've ever seen. They were so happy. Just thought you should know." I pictured 2 kids in obnoxiously neon jackets, grinning like the world had cracked open just wide enough for them to slip some joy inside. My eyes blurred. "Thank you for telling me," I wrote back. "I'm glad they're warm. I'm glad they have you." "They have a village," she replied. "You're part of that, whether you like it or not." I smiled at the screen. Maybe she was right. Maybe we'd all been pulled into the blast radius of one man's lies. But maybe, just maybe, we'd pulled something else out of it too. Clarity. Boundaries. A reminder that doing the right thing doesn't always feel good, but it does feel clean. As the city slid past my window, neon and streetlights smearing together, I thought back to that first night in the coffee shop. The crooked table, the tired man with the crime novel, and the story he was itching to tell. If I could walk up to that version of myself now, the one who thought witness protection sounded romantic, I'd put a hand on her shoulder and say, "You're going to feel stupid. You're going to feel used. You're going to sit on your kitchen floor and wonder if you're the villain in someone else's narrative.
You're not.
You're just someone who believed a lie until you saw the truth. And when you finally see it, you choose not to look away. That's the part that matters." Life went on. The dishwasher still hummed at 12:01. The budget cells still flipped green. My calendar still held its little blocks of order. But now, somewhere in another part of town, 2 kids had coats they wouldn't have had. A judge had paperwork they needed. A man had one fewer shield between him and his choices. And I had a clearer sense of who I was and what I would never tolerate again.